Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me on Ready Speaker. Uh, and Another episode here, just by myself. Don't really have anybody else coming here this week. Just been watching a couple of series. I want to do a comparative review. One is The Expanse, which I think is on season 6 right now. Both of these, The Expanse is on Amazon Prime, and I'm also looking at Another Life, which I think is on Netflix. So I've been watching both of these series and doing a little comparison. I haven't watched all of The Expanse. I've only gone halfway through season 3, and I've completed Another Life, which has 2 seasons. So just a little synopsis from the IMDb page of both here. Let's see. For Another Life, it says astronaut Nico Breckenridge and their young crew face unimaginable dangers. They go on a high-risk mission to explore the genesis of an alien artifact. On the let's see here, for The Expanse, in the 24th century, a group of humans untangle a vast plot which threatens the solar system's fragile state. So this is kind of interesting. I watched Another Life. I just kept sawing it. I kept seeing it pop up and sewing it. Jeez, uh, it's a rough day. It's a Sunday on Staten Island, so I can screw things up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forgive me. It's okay. I'll get past it. Let's just get into the story, and I can relax a little bit while I'm trying to think about all this stuff. So Another Life, yeah, it's on Netflix. Been watching it. I watched it. I watched the whole thing. Watched it sort of, one episode a night for a little bit, maybe two, depending where it went. I did kind of like it where it was going. I think it's an interesting idea, to think about aliens, and how they come to our planet where contact is, and sort of that stress level, and are we safe? I think it was Stephen Hawking, I think, said something to the effect of he hopes that aliens don't ever come here because historically, when one people meet another type of people, they obliterate them and take everything they can. So hopefully we never meet aliens because they'll probably just take everything we got because they're smarter than us and can fly through space, and we can't. So this is sort of like that, except at this point humans can fly through space, and they're going out on a mission. It's a military mission. Nico, the lead character, is played by Katie Sackhoff. I think she's done some stuff, and it's been kind of interesting to watch her. This is a common comment I make when I'm looking at a lot of these shows and films, is that a lot of people do face acting. They do a lot of like this and like that, yeah, and I get a kick out of it sometimes, and it works for some things, but it is a crutch. I think Katie has that in this series. I really don't know where else she what she does and other stuff, or it hasn't really landed, on my radar. But there is a lot of that. The only other thing, well, not the only other thing, but one of the major things that I find a little off with it as well is she seems to be the chosen one. It's another theme, the Jesus effect or the Messiah effect that I see in a lot of shows, especially American shows, where there's always somebody who's just innately born to do something, and everybody sort of loves them. And that's what I see with the Nico character. And there's sort of a love triangle, or anybody who comes in contact with her has this really, really deep affection for her. I don't know why. I don't get it. But it sort of leads the story along, where everyone's fighting for Katie's for Nico's approval, sexual attention, admiration, to give unconditionally to her. And there are moments where they're sort of they're all on a level playing field, but it just doesn't read 100% for me at times. You have a lot of over the top characters, and I'm not going to do actually a lot of spoilers with this one, because someone complained to me recently that they want to watch the podcast, but they don't want to hear a lot of spoilers for shows. But there are and actually in both these series there are characters that come and go. They're introduced. You're given a little bit of a backstory, which I do appreciate, and they're exited. And I think in the big world, when you're world building, that makes a lot of sense. The only thing with Another Life is that again, it just centers around that Nico character, and it's too small for such a big thing. So there's an artifact that lands on Earth, and her husband, who plays is Eric Wallace, and they have a child. They're actually on the opposite. They bookend the story essentially. He's the person on Earth, but still vying after Nico's affection or running after that, and that's his crux. And then you have Nico on the other side, and she's wanted by everybody, desired by everybody, and sort of you know uh, made the linchpin for the whole story. Which I know you need a linchpin in a sort of American TV, but I don't. I guess in all stories you need a linchpin. You need one person to bring around the whole story through the whole thing. I just don't see the weight that Nico brings to this. Uh, I'm doing a lot of us today, and I apologize for that. I hate people who do a lot of us. I'm one of those people right now. So never hate things because it probably means that you do it twice as bad, and you don't like it. You don't like that thing in yourself when you complain about other people doing it. So again, another one. Nico. So Nico is a strong character. I love that it's a female lead. I love that actually the cast is very diverse, and there are a lot of it's people of all genders and things that go across, and there's a lot of background in it. They do seem a little bit like they're. I don't know why they're there. It sort of gets explained later on in season 2, but again another. But I don't really know where the characters land in that world of skill set, importance, why they're there besides just fate and the cosmic hand aligning everything. So this team is what needs to happen for this big world effect. It's very American too, where the artifact lands in the U.S., making it the dominant country, making it the country that needs to be the stepping stone for the aliens coming on the planet. That sort of makes no sense for me. I understand that it's for American audience, but that makes no sense for me because if you're trying to get the world to accept you as a resource, and that's what the aliens are doing. That's their pitch, that we can make you better, we can help you. Let's become a team. We can bring something to humanity and make you better. It's interesting. It's actually a short story I was working on years ago with a similar concept, and they take over people as hosts of the same body with minds working in time, which I don't think that's a spoiler. That's just the part of the whole storyline, and how they sort of get into people is kind of interesting. Again, it was a very similar, idea that I had years ago. It's not to say anyone takes anything, but we do all have the same influences going on in the world and same ideas, and whoever writes it or sets it in motion, it's the person who got it out there. Doesn't mean if you have the same idea. That's a big thing with me too. It's you got to rush to get your things done. So people, if you're watching this and you want to do a podcast or you want to do writing or you have an idea about a product, get it out there because there's 1,000 people right now thinking about that idea. There's 1,000 people starting that same story. Very similar story. It's not yours. It's just all of us getting all these ideas and content and what's out there and frustrations and fears, and it bubbles up and it makes a nice little stew, but the recipes are all the same. Everybody wants to make a nice pizza. Everybody has their own little recipe. The guy who wins is the guy who gets that pizza out to the people first. So yeah, exactly. Actually, pizza's a great one. It was a poor person's food, and they started selling it in New York as something you can sell, in the store. And people have been making pizza forever. It came from the Mideast. It's pita. We Albanian culture, we call it pat, and it's all these things with thin dough, with ingredients that were extra that you have to toss aside. So that's what storytelling is find all this ingredient. We all have a dough. We all have this dough, and we throw in these ingredients that we're pulling in that sort of are everywhere, and we make this flavorful story. And so if you're, again, want to do a podcast, want to do writing, I recommend doing it. Just do it. There's tons of stuff out there, and there's tons of stories to be told, and keep telling the stories. I digress, but I want to go back to the show now. So how does that work with Another Life? I think there are a lot of elements in there. I think it's not delivered as great as I would like to. There is a lot of sexuality in it. A lot of sex in it for such a small cast. I don't know if it needs to be there. I don't know if that level of intimacy needs to be there. I don't know if that level of storytelling, soap opera type of thing needs to be there. I sort of understand it because if you're in a situation where everything is heightened and you're thinking, hey, the world may end, my emotions are high, and that means receptors to emotions are high, and you're looking for that companionship, that footing to get things along. I just don't know if it really matters, in this story, and where you're at this level of importance in the world that was built here. I don't know about that. I don't know if it's that important. There's even an affection with an AI, William, and Nico and William have this love affair. It's virtual. It's emotional. He's an AI that's developing emotions. It's the first person he probably falls in love with, and it's kind of interesting that's happening. But it shouldn't be reciprocated. It shouldn't be Nico falling in love with him. And it goes to the world building here. What are the rules? I'm applying Earth's rules as they are now. Everybody sort of is dressed in a very revealing outfit. Well, at least the women are. So you have Nico, and you have let's see, Blue Hunt. Is that no? Not her. I think Harper Glass. There's a whole bunch of people here. And the women are dressed in a pretty revealing way. So I don't know if that needs to happen for all the women. Like why the women are all in athletic bras and yoga pants, and the guys are wearing overalls. But it always Elizabeth Faith Ludlow as Kaz Isakovich. That to me is a little weird. Like why do we have to differentiate? They're military. They're military, and I get it. Like people can wear whatever they want, but then the guys should be wearing a lot more tank tops, and let's just leave it at that. But there's so many different levels, and again, for a military setup, I don't see where in the military or any sort of organization like that. The thing is to be uniform because if you stand out in any way, it's you're not part of the greater team, not part of the greater image. So I didn't really. It was distracting a lot of times in that aspect. So, but interesting story. I give it a watch. I don't know where it can go for season 2, but definitely an interesting story. I guess worth it. The Expanse is on season 6 right now, and a lot of wins and nominations. So it's been reading off the IMDb here, and it's been active and followed by a lot of people. I purposely watched through season 2 to see why this is still going and if Another Life can go. And then I was trying to make that comparison with the series. They're both set in space. The world building in The Expanse, I think, is much better. I assume the budget is larger. I assume the budget is much bigger. The FX on this and the world building and the intensity and the drama is much more heightened than it is in Another Life. Another Life, it is really I know it's about the world and how the alien artifact and the alien contact impacts the world, but it's really down to what these individuals on this ship are experiencing. It's really down to how they perceive it and their sense of urgency, and everything hinges on them. It's so many people can't do things. I got my Yankees cap back there. I'm actually not a sports fan, but I got a Yankees cap over there. We move that over here a little bit. There you go. I think that's better. All right. So doing stuff at home and showing a messy background you don't want to do, but you do it and you get through it. So and that's what I do. That's what I do. So yeah, back to the show. So the world building on this series is really hinged on that small ship, and I don't really see a transformation for them beyond that sense of urgency. And there's time jumps and it takes a long time and they're flying. There's all these things. I just don't see where it really lands or where it expands beyond them. I don't see a season 2. I mean, maybe you can figure out something. I just don't see a season 2 for that. I just don't know where it would go. And sometimes it's all you want. I think that Netflix is pretty notorious for one and done. So they do, a season like they did with Cowboy Bebop, which I have another episode on that already up on podcast and talking about that. And I didn't really see that going another season. I did enjoy it at times, not for the main character, but for the peripheral. And a lot of that is here too. I enjoy some of the peripheral characters, and I think they were allowing themselves to build some background for them that wasn't expressed, but it was acted through on the character work. With the Expanse, I think there's a lot of character work on that. What I'm enjoying about that is that it is a great big world. Things are constantly changing. There is real dramatic moments in it where you're like, okay, I don't know if this is going to happen, and everybody sort of has their reason to be there, and they found each other, be it by accident, by choice, by determination, where some of the characters are pushing themselves into situations to get them across to where they want to be. They do have a bigger world view than than another life. I like the fact that there are belters in the Expanse. So this is the thing. There's Earth, which went to space into exploration to try and do a Mars colony, and they settle a Mars colony. The colony becomes a country of itself. Then they have all these resources in the belt around, and these are all the miners and the workers and the people who supply resources. So they're the grunts of the world. They're I guess third world. So old world, new world, third world, and there are that where they speak in a very stylized English. There's a lot of influences from various peoples that speak English, and I think that's kind of interesting and a little Yoda-esque at times. But I find that interesting, and they have their own desire to be elevated to a status that's equal to Mars or Earth, and Earth is a welfare state, which is another thing I brought up the other day. Is like why this is actually the anti-Star Trek. A lot of these shows that are coming up, where in Star Trek, in their world, no one really has to work. You just do. You get things because you're part of society, and everybody gets a chance. You can become a professor, a doctor, whatever. It's all given. That's why there's no commerce. There's no currency in Star Trek. You order it, you're done. You want to go somewhere, you do it. It's just part of what people do, and everybody wants to be a scientist, everybody wants to be educated, everybody wants to be a poet. It doesn't matter. Anybody can do anything they want to. And in a lot of these worlds that we're seeing right now, any sort of that socialism, that idea of a socially just society where people can be the best they can be as people because technology has allowed us to do that, is considered a failed welfare state. And that is Earth and the Expanse, which most people have basic income, and they live on a basic income setup, have no desire, or there's not enough jobs to go around, not enough slots in the education to go around, because everything's just basic. They'll do the bare minimum to get it across, bare minimum. So it's very much the corporate welfare state, I would say. Even though it's a socialist sort of mentality, it's corporate. It's where looking at things like a company, and what's the bare minimum we can do to feed what we got and not rock the boat. And if I get my nephew or my niece or my son or my daughter or my grandkid in there, that's what we do. And the Martians are considered the hardworking people, or the innovators. They're the America. And that's what America perceives America being, where you work for your own, you work hard, and that's it. And then you have the third world people, or the recent immigrants, or the belters, who speak the broken English, who are all mixed and are money hungry. They're only there for money. Everything's about money for them. Everything's about hustle for them. Everything's about retribution. It's a very mafia-like structure, where if you wrong them, you're out. You wrong them, you can get hurt. They're the five families that come together. There's a lot of that symbolism there of immigration. So maybe not a worldview per se, but we're looking at it as an American political sort of hierarchy, and it's written out into this global view, where you have the immigrants, who are the broken English speakers, let's just say for what it is, and how they hustle, and it's all about the money, it's all about hard work. They're a little grimy, they're a little rough, they want to elevate themselves, they want to be considered equals. You have the Martians, who are the established pioneers, and they're the ones who have only believe in hard work. So you have that conservative right leaning, where it's only a Calvinistic society, and you work hard, that's what you get. You get no handouts. And then you have the Earthers, who amongst themselves are great. Amongst themselves are very wealthy. Amongst themselves are doing awesome. But they're people. They surround themselves by people who live on basic income, and they are kept at a place. So let's just go into the characters. of the Expanse. You have Jim Holden, who's the leader. He's an Earther who's moved out to work with the Belt and try and sort of save people. And he has white the white savior in the story, but he doesn't really do a great job at it. It's kind of interesting. He is white savior, but he sort of gets pushed along, and he's sort of finding things about himself that he wouldn't necessarily find out, and he's at fault. And I do like he does some face acting. There are a couple moments where he does some face acting, but I think there it's warranted, where they're beat up, they're exhausted, and they try and show that in an episode or in an arc of the chase and what they're trying to do and how they get lost in that. And that's what I kind of find interesting with the Expanse, is that there's a lot of choices made by the characters that show they're kind of lost in their thinking, that they're lost in their way, they're lost in how they step through this story, where I don't see that in Another Life. In Another Life, there is one goal. It's constant. And even though they're making bad decisions, there's a lot of bad decisions about what they're doing. It's about gut instinct, and they know they're right. And sort of it works out in the end. But it's bad decisions. And if it's the bad decision, it's not their fault. And I mean, there's a couple of them are really, really bad. But then that's fine. They sort of get through it. But yeah, not a bad story. But in comparison to The Expanse, I think the world building and the characters here are really, really, really enjoyable. You have Dominique Tipper as Naomi Nagata, and you have Wes Chatham as Amos Burton. I'll tell you, I was a little put off by some of these characters at first because I thought they were not cartoonish. I don't want to say that, but they fit sort of a stereotype of what should be in there. Like you always have, like in the old Army movies, you would always have a guy named Brooklyn. Hey, what's going on, guys? You'd always have that. You'd have the Irish guy. You'd have the Italian guy. You have the farmer boy. And I thought there were some stereotypes of what they were picking. But as I was watching it, they were much more layered. I think the writers are finding this cadence, this depth by the actors, not necessarily the words. This is based on the novel, based on novels, and what is this? What's I don't know what's the what Another Life is based on. I don't know. It says creator, so there's a creator to this. Let me see. Creator Aaron Martin, so it's probably created for TV with the successive shows like The Expanse, and the creators Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby, Daniel Abram, based on novels by, I don't know where it is here, writing credits, let me see. Well, it's somewhere, based on novels. So it's the characters are much better in my opinion. I think Wes, is that what his name is again? Wes does a great job. By the end, I'm really, really enjoying what he brings to it. I think he adds a little level of depth and frustration that I don't generally see in a lot of these shows. And I'll tell you, the camera work on this is really, really good. Some of the camera shots and the color and the lighting is awesome. Stephen Strait, who plays Jim Holden, gets a little pouty sometimes, and they do, like, from overhead, they're doing shots, and he's a little shadowy. And that's okay, but I think that's just his look, and that's what they're doing. I just saw one episode where they're sexualizing them within the series, as people are fans of these people. They're seeing these people as heroes. They're heightening them. They're making them into portraits on walls. And he's got like a headshot, which like little like, hey, what's up, headshot. And I think it's funny that they sort of do that. And it looks great with that. There is some sexual tension in it, but it's not a soap opera like Another Life is, where everybody's vying for one person, or you're building these dramatic moments and stares between characters because there's nothing else to fill the story with. It happens, and they revisit and they go, and there's even I'm not going to say who because it doesn't really matter, but when one character says they're involved with another character, they tell the other 2 or 3 people in the room, like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen, and it's never even discussed, and there is a rapport that feels real within the characters. They're not vying for the same person. They're saying, hey, those 2 people are together, and we're going to let that work out. And we're not looking at them, because we're family. We're in a space. We're trusting each other. We may move on. We may return, but we have our roles in this family structure and that's what we have to go with. And I think Amos and Naomi, I'm going to go with the character names, do a really, really great job. Alex, the character Alex by Kaz Anvar, does a great job. They even bring in a Martian soldier onto that team. And at first, the Roberta Bobby, Draper, I think is the last name, character. At first, I was a little put off by it, little like, hey, where is this going? Is her physicality right? Is her size right? Everything. This is played by Frankie Adams. Frankie Adams does a great job by the end. By the end, I think they find that rhythm with that character that I don't see that often. That has her weight in it, has her depth in it, has the emotion in it. There's so many things where these characters are discovering things about themselves and they're not the same people. Forget about the relationships like in Another Life, where who likes who and that's what it is. They're the same people by the end of 2 seasons. Everyone on Another Life is not dead. Sorry, one spoiler, some people die. And that's actually a thing about both these shows. People die. People get introduced, you find a backstory, you get attached a little bit, and they're out. And I do like that on both. I think that's the way these things should be. You need to get attached a little bit, not just a red shirt like in Star Trek where they come in for a second. I need to know the background. I need to know why they're there. I need to know they're confused or scared or angry or resentful or whatever it is, and they're out. And you get a moment of that. And I think Another Life does that well. I think The Expanse does that better. But there's more to those stories, and the main characters here don't really change. They're the same character. They might be more pouty, more cry face, and do some more acting, face acting for it, but they're the same exact character. Whereas in The Expanse, they're not the same. They're really not the same. Some of the characters here are freaking amazing how they've changed, from being victims to being angry to being to being lost to finding a new cause. And I think that's the sell of The Expanse. It's really, really good world building. Really good world building where everything can change in a heartbeat. And you think you know what's going on, and it just goes to a different place. And I enjoy that. And again, the shots are great. The shots are great. I think it's a great, diverse cast. I love seeing that both genders are portrayed in a very strong way. I love seeing, and I know that's like a weird thing to say, but when you have all these shows historically, I'm an older guy and it's all men, and they're the only strong people there, or there's one woman and she's in a really tight blouse, and the whole time that's her reason for being there. It's disrespectful to what happens out there. It's disrespectful to the way we should be exploring the world and what strengths people bring, and I think The Expanse is just more even with that. With bringing that across, and even in the future, who knows how sexuality is going to be? That's something that people don't really realize, that the idea of sexuality and what's taboo and what's approachable and what's obtainable and all these ideas has morphed constantly in the world. And depending where you are in this world, you don't know what things are allowed and in what place. And sometimes things are okay in one place and then not okay in another place. And I think showing that things are more in flux and that things are different in both worlds. I think that's kind of interesting that they allow that there is a maturity of sexuality, or the idea of sexuality, and how mature we can be about sex. I just think The Expanse does it a little bit more tastefully, in some ways. And again, it's not about what they're portraying or who's liking who. It's just, I think it's just done in a more tasteful way, and it's sprinkled. It's sprinkled. There's just enough cursing in it. I think some of the cursing is over the top. Not over the top, but just doesn't, I don't know, just doesn't fit Another Life. The only thing I would say is there is a character in this, Christian Avasarala. I don't know, I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna butcher the name, and I feel so horrible with this. I really, really. Somebody from Iran actor, and she's great. I think she has great presence. I've gotten to like her. Shoreh Agdashlu. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I didn't do it right, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to butcher that. It's not my intent. I think great visually. She's an actress that's here, and she's done a lot of stuff. And I've seen her before. She's done a lot of stuff internationally. The only thing with her, I think, is that when she screams, because English is a learned language, and it's hard to scream or be angry in another language that you weren't born to. And there are moments when she curses or screams, or it just feels a little flat, like I needed a little more energy in it. But that's really, really nitpicking. That is like beyond. Where now it's just an afterthought to me. Even if I even bring it up, it doesn't matter. She nails the scene. She has a lot of energy in the scene. She has great presence in the scene, and I think that's just dialect work. That maybe it's good enough and it's fine. And me just being a picky prick, and that's it. Nothing else beyond that. I think her presence in the series is amazing. I think all of them are really, really doing a great job. And looking into stuff like in IMDb, like, hey, more shows like this. Is it better than Westworld? I think so. Is it better than The Boys? In some ways. Mandalorian, I love. Is it better than a Firefly? I think so. Definitely better than the Star Trek Discovery. And I think Another Life is probably more akin to Star Trek Discovery. If we're going to compare the two of what they are. Another Life is very much like Star Trek Discovery, with the Messiah, Jesus coming back complex, and then the admiration and sort of being very, very closed and soap opera like, where only that world exists and that's the only people they sort of contact with and connect with. And the Expanse is probably the best scenario of what a Star Trek could be. Like if we were Starfleet, if there was a series called Starfleet, I think the Expanse is Starfleet. I think the Expanse is what Starfleet could be. Where there's different worlds and it's trying to get together and they're trying to find their first step out into the universe. And originally I thought Another Life was a great prequel to Star Trek. A first contact, how Earth gets united, and then they go out and they find how to travel to space in a better way. But then after watching The Expanse, I think that's if you're going for that world building, that's the best place for it to be. So yeah. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Am I making sense for everybody? I hope I am. Hey, leave comments if you want below. You can email me if you want. You can reach out to us through the comments. I'll gladly meet and talk with anybody. Let's talk about some shows. If you have an opinion or you want to watch a couple of shows, or you want to have me watch a couple of shows, I'll watch them. I'll watch a couple of movies for you, and we'll chat and we'll talk through it. And I'd love to hear people's ideas, even about other stuff. So that's just me saying let's talk about things. I love having conversation. I love inviting people to have conversation. So subscribe, like, share. Talk to you soon. All the best, and enjoy the guitars. Very nice, right? I got so much shit here. I got so much stuff here. So I got a ukulele too. So yes, I'll tune it later. So all the best, everybody. Thank you. Talk soon, and be well.